Okay, we're back with Julius Maddox talking about how faith plays a role in his lifting. So, just a precursor here, people been asking to talk with Julius. So, even if you don't agree with this, you need to listen because you guys wanted me to bring him on and hear what he has to say. So, make sure you listen. It's I'm giving him the floor so he can say whatever he wants here and share it with you guys. So, pay attention.
Yeah, so I don't even know where I left off, but faith definitely does play a huge role. But I was talking a little bit about boss of bosses,
Yep.
and like I knew that that day, like it was there. Like I just knew it. I knew it before, you know, when I woke up that morning. Like I knew it was time, and it's just something that I know that the Lord had confirmed with me. Just not like I heard an audible, like I heard a voice, or I just this feeling that I had that it was my time. Like I'm ready, and that ever since Boss of Bosses, like the momentum has just been rolling. Like
Absolutely.
I'm in a different. That's what I don't want to sound like I'm cocky or arrogant. I'm just in a different league of my own. Like it's. I don't. The only thing that's going to stop me is the Lord. That's it. Just put it that way. And I'm excited to be in this position and be able to use this platform to help other people.
Well, the other
What was
thing
the
is
other question
you
you
didn't
asked
have a
me?
little bit of momentum before Boss of Bosses. I think at that Corpus Christi meet, if you look at it, you know, conditions weren't perfect and all this, and you still hit the American record there with
Oh
ease.
yeah, yeah.
So that kind of
There
started.
was just there was something different about Boss of Bosses. I agree with that. But as far as like my confidence level of confidence, there was just something different about like once I secured that weight, and like we talked about this. Once
Yeah,
I got that 744 or 739,
nine the first time.
it
Yeah,
was just something was different. Like I guess just because like I said, I got that monkey off my back, and I was, you know, but it just solidified everything, man. Like it just made me confident again, even more so that it doesn't matter what I do as long as I set my mind to do it and I'm putting in the hard work that I'm going to achieve it. It's going to happen. So, but yeah, it's just in that moment, that season, I believe I hit another level. So there was another question you asked me. I can't remember what it
yeah.
was.
What about the actual lifting part of playing a role? Like, just how did lifting help? Rehabilitate you too? Because it's not
Again,
like you
one is
moved to the mountains and became a monk or something. So,
yeah, right. I mean, again, we're talking about confidence. It helped me to be more confident,
yeah,
um, not just in lifting, but just confident in myself. And like the most awesome thing about it is the discipline behind it was just phenomenal. Simply because I've never really had any discipline. Period. Because anytime things got tough, I ran. But making sure that I completed my workouts, even whenever the workouts seemed impossible, proving to myself that I can do this over and over. Like I've been trained. People don't really. Um, the only people that really get this are people that are close to you, as far as programming
sure.
and how your programming is set up. And it's not for the faint-hearted.
No,
This is not cookie cutter programming where you got Timmy from down the road that's got a $300 certification setting programs. Like this is real. Look, just put it this way. I remember my first month of doing jailhouse strong programming. I kid you not, it made me rethink powerlifting for probably 6 months after that, just because the way my body was breaking down and I didn't know what was going on, and it was very strenuous. But again, when we're talking about discipline and pushing myself through all those seasons, if I never would have done that, if I never would have adapted to that, we wouldn't be here talking today.
well, it's
So
interesting about that is you watch that video when you're training with Eddie Hall there, and the strongmen have really good work capacities, dude, and you're ahead of them. So like people a lot of times are gonna think, oh yeah, he's real big, and you're just like other because in the past big guys have kind of been stereotyped and perhaps rightfully so.
yeah,
I do was one single on the bench, then a couple sets of lat pull downs, the tricep push downs, and leave the gym, type of deal.
that's not how it works,
Yeah,
and that's the thing. Like, and that's what I tell people. They're like, oh, when sometimes when some of my people that are close to me that haven't worked out with me yet, I'm like, dude, you have no idea. I will outwork you. I promise you. I'm built for it. I'm a machine. Like
Yeah.
this is how I've trained for 5 years, 5+
Yeah.
years strong. And it's just something that people don't believe it till I'm actually in there working out, and they're like, how in the world do you do all of this?
Well, and a lot of
And
people don't know your history because you were hitting, 644 and almost got 677 in 2015. So like a lot of people think you're just come out of nowhere, and that's not really the case.
yeah.
You just people didn't know you yet.
Oh yeah, you're exactly right. So people are just starting to know, but I mean, I don't know if it's just how humble I am because I'm not talking all this crap. I'm not. That's just not me. It's just not how I roll. But yeah, people are starting to really. I remember asking them like, man, I don't know why like I don't get the recognition I should, but it's just like continue to put in the work, and eventually my work's going to show itself. So.
Absolutely.
But that used to be really something that bummed me out big time because I'm like, man, I'm putting in all this work and I don't get any recognition for it. But then you have to realize ultimately it's not about the recognition. I mean, we could say a part of it is, but for me, it's just continuing again to show myself that I can do something because really, when you look back, like I never really completed any goals that I set for myself. Besides, whenever I started training with you, so in progression to get to this 800-pound bench. So it carried over to other parts of my life because if I can do this with Josh, along with there was one point where I don't know if you remember this, where I had two jobs, and I had two jobs,
I do.
and another part time job. So, um, but I was working, 16 hours a day, and even on the weekends too, and getting my training in. I remember there was nights where I wasn't getting in the gym until 11 p.m. Go home, get myself ready for the next day, wake back up at 5:30, and I'm back at work again. And just this process of doing all that, and like it just helped me carry over all areas of my life when we're talking about dedication and discipline and all these things that you would think that man, this like I would get most people would have gave up in that season. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, for
When you
sure.
got 4 kids, 2 jobs, and your jobs are very demanding, most people would have gave up. But I continued to push the envelope because I knew deep down inside I was created to do something greater than my current situation. And most people are just so lax. They don't want. I mean, they're just okay with just going home and checking out and getting back up and going to work the next day. And it's like, man, we have so much potential as far as humans, and it may not be their strength may not be weightlifting, but it's something else. But they're only applying 10% of energy towards that, or giving 10%. It's just like, we're just created to do so many great things. And I remember when I had no vision, I had no future, I had none of those things, no goals or anything, and I was just so empty. But now that I have a life full of meaningful things, that I'm willing to push my body as far as I can take it. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. I mean, going back to your Bible scripture, you said in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and then right after it says man was created in God's image. So I would assume
Yeah,
that would be more mean more than just piddling around. So absolutely.
yeah. We were created to do so many great things, but again, a lot of people are just okay with going to work. And I'm not saying there's a problem with that, but I'm saying at one point, I don't care who you are, if you have a life like that, you're gonna look back one day and say, "Man, I wish I would have lived a little more. I wish I would have pushed myself a little more." You know, and I don't want to be that type of person. I want to be that person that says, thank God that I did that. Thank God that I took that chance.
Yeah.
That I poured myself out. So that's just the I guess the mindset of there's a lot of different avenues we can go with that, but those are the main things, man.
Well, with the mindset, so like, what are you thinking about when you get into a comp? When you get into competition here, are you thinking like every little technical point you can think of, or is it just more like kind of a white zone where you're thinking like be strong, explosive, or what are you thinking like as you
Well,
approach the bar at a contest? Because you routinely exceed what you do in training. That's not like it's not a goal. That's an expectation to always do more in a
Uh,
meet than you do in training. Always works
some
out that way.
people, yeah, some people have this. Some people say it's wrong to have this switch that you can flip on and off. But man, I don't know. I just have a switch that I just flip on and I'm ready to
Yeah.
go. When I'm ready to go, and it can be last seconds. Like the whenever I did the my last meet before, well, it was Texas.
The one before the
Which
last
one
in
was that?
Austin, yeah.
There's so many of them. Where was we at? We was in Austin,
Yep.
Big Tex Gym.
Your big Rob Hall Classic, yeah.
Yeah, he was like, "Man, are you all right? You sure you want to? Are you sure? Like, what's going on?" I'm like, "It's just at the last minute. I'm just at this point to where I could flip it on at the last minute. I'm trying to conserve every bit of energy that I can, and then just flip that switch and it's go time. And that's kind of the mindset. But ultimately, if people want to really, if you can get in the mind of Julius, it would be. I think about those nights of being locked up. I think about what it felt like not having no future, no purpose, and those are things that fuel me, that fire me, that get me there, like where I'm ready to go. I remember one time I came home from rehab. It was about 6 months. I was about 6 months in, and my dad was like, I was like, yeah, I got my first full time job and all this stuff. And at times, my dad was very negative. That's just how he was. But he said, you'll never change, and that's something that like ran straight through me. Because I mean, as men, even as little boys, like for the most part, we feel like our job is to impress our fathers,
Of
right?
course.
That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
We want our dads to be proud of us, right?
Of course.
And it's like, of course, I know he's not going to be proud that I'm in rehab,
Yeah, obviously.
but when he hit me with that, it's just something that another time that I just use that as fuel. Like, I'm going to show you. And there was another time where I ran into a cop that's arrested me on numerous cases. And he was like, "How are you doing?" And I'm like, "Man, I'm doing good. I'm changing my life. I'm living a different life." And he looked at me dead in my eyes and said, "Yeah, right." And he gave me that kind of like arrogant and just walked off. And all these people that doubted me and said that I wouldn't become anything, I use those moments every single moment. Like, I don't know, they just play in my head like a movie. And whenever I hit that bench, it's game time. Like,
Have you ever seen
I'm
that cop
showing the world
since?
what I can do. Huh?
Have you seen that cop since?
Yeah,
I
you
know
know
you're in a
what?
small town
It's
there.
crazy. Like a year later, he seen me. And this is like right when I started getting into like competitions and stuff.
Yeah.
And I seen him. He had tears in his eyes, and he came up and gave me a hug. It was weird, man. And I mean, like weird in a good way. And I
You
was
gotta
just
respect
like,
somebody at least admit they're wrong. So
oh yeah. He apologized, and he was like crying. It was like we were at this outreach where we were like feeding one of the local this ran down hotel in our town where like a lot of people that have disability or
yeah.
some kind of mental issue or drug use. So we feed them once a year or whatever. But this is a whole community event where everybody's feeding this place and getting them like school supplies and stuff. And that's where I seen him at. And he seen me and started walking up to me and gave me a hug and had tears in his eyes. I was like, "Look, man, I'm sorry." But here's the thing, like that's all I've shown people my whole life is that I give the bare minimum. I give just enough just to get by. That's it. And a lot of people right now are just giving a little bit just to get by and not knowing that the more you push yourself, the more you're going to excel and you're going to blow your mind. And you don't know where in the world you're going to be able to take yourself. Like, if do you think? I mean, this is a rhetorical question, but like, do you think that I ever thought, whenever I entered in rehab, that I would be the strongest person in the world in bench press? No, I
I
never.
doubt it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Yeah.
never even thought that. Even whenever I hit my first 600-pound bench, like I was like, yeah,
That's a
but
good
I mean, those
bench.
guys are 100 pounds ahead of me. Like. But again, as your mindset changes, your work ethic changes, your beliefs change, and once you really believe it, like believe it without a doubt, when you know that you know that you know, like, so that's where I'm at with this 800 pounds. Like, I know that I know that I know I'm getting 800-pound bench. Like, I know it. I believe it. Like, we talked about this, like speaking it and
Yeah.
just dreaming on it, waking up thinking about it, going to sleep thinking about it, and speaking it to existence. And I kid you not, Josh, ever since I've been doing that, and that was like whenever we started around the 740,
Yeah.
around that time, when I hit 739, is when I started doing that. And that's why, like, I've steamrolled through those last, 3 lifts like that. It's just because I'm so confident. I believe in it. Like, I believe in it with all my soul. So,
I think it's also with now that like the record's out of the way, Julius can concentrate on, Julius getting these numbers, not so much about what anybody else is doing. It's just what you need to do to get those numbers. Like no one else plays a factor in that. Like it's just what you can control. And like
yeah,
it's different than like, okay, so and so's 5 pounds ahead of me, so at this meet I'm gonna like do my second attempt here just so I can maybe get ahead, and if I'm lucky I'll get a third. It's like no, this is what needs to be done to get 800. It's it's you're concentrated on yourself, not on beating somebody else.
yeah.
You're beating yourself day in day out.
Makes perfect sense. So it's just, and that's another thing. Is just again, is being confident in that, and I think that's what, like, whenever I finally hit the world record, that's something that, again, was just a relief because finally, after everything that all the blood, sweat, tears, everything that I've put in, that we've put in,
Yeah.
um, has, I mean, it finally paid off, and it's just like, but you know what's so crazy is like right after that, I went into like a state of depression, like where I was just like, I
Yeah.
mean, it was the weirdest thing in the world. I'm like, you would think, and I know some of it was like me listening to the comment, or like looking at the comments and stuff about like, the weight not locking out, and like I was in bad, I was in bad shape, for about a week and a half in this funk, like, I don't know, it was just weird, but those are like, that's why, um, I bounced back so hard because I'm like, I'm gonna show the world this is what I'm in it for.
Well, I think the reason you bounce back so hard too, also, is you've done a good job of talking to other people too about the process and valuing the process. It's not just like, okay, this all sucks, then I get to go to a meet and it's fun, and then I go back to like this sucking and all I care about is the meet. It's like focusing on the process, and then like almost like the meet's a byproduct of doing things right.
Oh, definitely. No, yeah, you're exactly
But
right.
I
So
think I've
like,
seen athletes slip into depressions for like months. That's why I say that, because a week and a half, that's not that long. Where people get in there, for months. I mean, it ruins people's. Sometimes when someone achieves a milestone, it could ruin their career. It's like,
yeah,
where to go from
no,
here?
I agree. And I don't know why it follows. I think, but and that's when I have to look back and value, like you said, value the process of it and what got me there and the reason why I'm doing it. And that's what usually like helps like bring it out. Um, but for the most part, I've had seasons where it was 2 to 3 months. Um, 2018, I wanted to quit. I wanted to just give up lifting weights. It was just I had so much on me, and I was dealing with a lot, and it was just like I'm ready to just to opt out of this and give up. Like, but for the most part, the point that you came up with about valuing the process is probably one of the most valuable lessons people could take away from this.
Yeah.
Is ultimately it's not necessarily like if you value the process that much and you can keep continue into valuing the process, like you'll keep producing, or you'll. So I'm trying to word this right. The reward is always going to be there. If you value the process and you know what you're doing in the process, then the reward is always going to keep coming. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
and what I mean by that is if you're working hard, you're following your program, you're doing what you're supposed to. You're talking to your coach, you're listening to your coach. You're always going to be able to produce the product. But in that time, like you have to value like the process. The process is everything. I would almost say the process is almost greater than the reward
Yeah, absolutely.
because the process is what got you there. So I don't know. It's just there's so many different factors when we're talking about training and the mindset. But no, that's a good point because if it wasn't for the process and me valuing the process again, I wouldn't be here talking to you today.
So you kind of like almost like detach yourself in a sense from the outcome. You're just focusing on what you have to do. Then all of a sudden the outcome takes care of itself because you've applied yourself to the process, embraced it, become one with it essentially.
Yeah, see, that's the wording I was looking for. I can't word it like Josh Bryant, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's exactly what I was meaning to say. And it's just like this. At the end of the day, I would always set myself up for like a letdown. Like, so when I didn't get the lift that I wanted, oh, it would just drive me crazy. But because I stuck to the process and continue to continue to just to grind every single weekend, every weekday, just putting forth the effort, like eventually, I produced something that was so sweet, that was just so awesome, and it's like we have to start that process over again because people are like, "How do you?" I mean, like, what keeps you going? And so sometimes I have to sit there and think because it changes. Like my reasoning, my reasoning for the next one, the motivator changed. Like whenever I got to 744, I was like, man, I think I'm gonna lose some weight and dial it back. And then old dude kept offering to pay me for a bigger 800-pound bench. So it was like, why not? Let's go to the next level.
Yeah.
So your motivators can
And
change.
how does that look for the 800-pound bench on the date and stuff? I mean, obviously it's there when it's there. I think it's
It's
there.
supposed to be on the. Well, here's the problem that I've just started having the past 2 weeks is my gym is moving to a bigger gym. Like we need more space. So I'm not able to, over the past week, I just can't train. Along with this coronavirus, I can't train like I need to. So I'm going to talk with the promoters today, and I might have to push it back 2 to 3 weeks.
How long is that move going to take on the gym?
Man, I messaged him, and he said like they moved everything over, but it's not straightened up to where I'll be able to use the gym. So um, that's going to kind of probably hold me back for another week.
Yeah.
So Festica, which is good because this week I have a deload week
Yep.
coming up.
So it works
So
out.
it's not bad. So
Well,
but
so yeah, so the promoters there. So yeah, this can be a big thing. We do 800. Like my only hope. I'm not worried about the 800. The only thing I'm concerned about is just the coronavirus getting in the way of.
yeah, that's kind of the reason
Of
why
making like
I
a more of
probably
a
need to
public
push it
thing.
back a few weeks
Yeah.
because we never know. So at least to be safe, I would say 3 weeks. So around like June the 20th or something like that. June the 20th, maybe the last weekend of June. Just to be safe for everything. Everybody like they want me to like keep up with this hype of like Thor, but I need to take my mind off of that because it's gonna create its own hype.
Yeah.
Like I can't let that dictate the date or my training because that's what I was doing this whole week is like letting that like no I got to do it on 31st to kind of keep this momentum going. But I was like it just hit me the other day. I can't let that dictate. Like I need to make sure that I'm firing on all cylinders, that I'm following up on all ends of my program because
Yep.
I'm not going to go in front of the world and miss this lift. Like I'm going to get this lift, so that requires
And it's not
again.
like they got someone to fill in for you right now, anyways. If they need an 800-pound bench.
Yeah,
It's not like they can get you out of the way. We'll bring the next one in.
yeah, I know. So that's the kind of the thought
That's called
process
that's
with
called
this next
leverage,
meet.
people.
I'm sorry.
I said that's called leverage, everyone.
Yeah.
um,
Uh,
yeah, so that's awesome. So you think? So yeah, I'm fully confident the 800's there. I just expecting a date soon so we can dial in the training and everything else. I think the mindset's
yeah.
there. Obviously, the physical part's there. So I mean, it's gonna be huge.
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait.
So let me
I've
ask you
been
a couple more questions. And what about just like from somebody? Let me kind of I guess go on a little thing. So Julius is somebody I'd call like a fast gainer. Like he's going to gain size and strength easier than the average person. So the advantage that is obviously that. The disadvantage is that takes someone longer to recover. Like for instance, if he does like a bench workout, just think of it like this: if you have a machine that's perfectly dialed in a person where everything fires on all cylinders, that person's going to get more sore from the workout. Just think if you're the slow 40-year-old that ran cross country, goes out and runs sprints, hasn't done them in 20 years, probably won't get sore from it because he can't even push himself to that point. Where you have some thoroughbred sprinter that took 3 months off, day one goes out and sprints. If he doesn't get hurt, he's gonna be sore for 10 days just because he's all those fast twitch fibers that take longer to recover from. So, like for instance, Julius is so dialed in, and it's not like you can do this more often and recover faster. It's kind of the opposite. You keep like dialing this machine in perfectly. This machine's going to take longer to recover in from because everything is firing together. When you can sequentially fire everything together perfectly, it just takes more time for a person to recover. So like Julius say, well, bench heavy every 10 or 11 days. What other differences do you think? So if you guys listening, if that's you, you're probably going to recover. What other differences have you noticed with yourself compared to like other people with like how your training, affects, say?
That I don't need to. So like a lot of times people think that more is better, and kind of what you said, every 10 days, like less is better for me. I found that I can't, bench 2 or 3 times a week. It doesn't work for me. And I found out that just because what everybody else is doing and thinks that that's the traditional way of how to build muscle and get a bigger bench, it's not necessarily true. Like incline or overhead pressing movements, they may carry over a little bit, but for me, not much. I'm more
sure.
along the lines of.
Let me
I'm
chime
sorry.
in there. So people talk about overhead press be 70% of your overhead press to your bench press. So if you bench press 400, you do 280. That's like that. So we get these normal standards, say, where when somebody's okay, like I'm not trying to take over the conversation here, but
No, go ahead.
Somebody is so far out the norm. It's what I call the chaos theory. Is like, okay, we have normalcy, then chaos is it's good chaos, but it's not. There's no blueprint how to get here. Everything is new. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for you, like everything you do has not been done before. So like if someone say benching 1,000 pounds, are they going to be overhead pressing 700 pounds? Of course they're not. I mean, that's ridiculous. Yeah. So there becomes a point where like this works for, I always say most rules like that are going to be about 80% of the time. So if Julius and me just put together some random bench press program of like what works for most people, 80% of the people that do it are probably get pretty good results and be happy. But there's that 20% and beyond, and that's where you're at. So that's what we're kind of getting at here.
And that's like, so oftentimes for the average person, it wouldn't be as bad. But for me, like I have to look at it like risk versus reward. Because if something like, because you got to understand, in order for me to benefit, most likely it's going to be heavier weight. And weight is weight. So if I'm doing 500 for 5 sets of 5, that's a lot of weight to be doing on incline or overhead pressing. Like, in order for me to fully, I think, benefit to where it would somewhat carry over. But for the most part, hold on, let me do it.
Sure.
But for the most part, what we're doing is working. So why would we change it up just because of what everybody else is doing or the vast majority of people are doing? And this is what I get a common question all the time. It's like, so have you ever thought about having so-and-so coach you? And I'm like, why? Why would I do that? I mean, it makes no sense. Come on, dude. If I don't answer the phone, don't keep calling. I mean, listen, Josh, give me 1 second.
Sure.
So for the majority of people, it may translate over and help them in bench, but for me, it's just like it starts creating shoulder problems and just small things that just affect the way that my fluid, the way my bench moves so fluent, like those little minor strains and tears, it just throws my programming all the way off.
For sure.
So it's just not worth it at the end of the day.
I think another thing is interesting about you, though. I mean, this is more works for most people, though. is your upper back recovers real well. So you can do a lot of upper back workout, way more than most people.
That's probably the most favorite muscle group I like to work out is just my back, period, in general.
How come?
Ever since that we've increased it, it's just my bench has just slung shot through the roof. Like it was like from I think the point where I hit 677 and we started increasing, and this was in Nashville in like 2017.
Yeah.
And we started increasing volume and back. It's like it's a trampoline. I mean, the best way to put it, I don't know. It's just the weight just flies off the chest. I mean, you can see the progression of my videos to where the weight is it's moving, but like there just came a point to where it's like a rocket off the chest,
Yeah.
and I think that's due to me building my back, especially my upper back, being able to stabilize the weight and be more and the weight move more fluidly. So, like my path is just the same, just about every time that I'm moving away. So, with that being said, a lot of it is due to having a big back, a big launch pad to launch the weight off of. So I have a big, strong foundation, and it's just the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
Like, so I can. And the crazy thing about it is, I just tried to implement this with my clients, and they've seen tremendous gains.
Yeah.
But some people just can't. They're like, they look at the program and they're like, man, it says I hit back 3 times a week. Do you want a bigger bench or not?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's that's the whole thing. Like I didn't question whenever you said that. I just did the work. So
yeah, you're taking inventory the whole time. So obviously, if it's not working, it's not just to exercise of futility to do for fun. It's better produce results. So if, we did that for 4 months and nothing's happened, then that would be a waste of time. Move on, do something else, learn your lesson. What about the other thing is like you look at how much volume you hit your triceps with too. And from getting to like of all those isometrics like extensions, the cluster sets with the overhead rope, all that stuff. You look at how much work. That's what it would be interesting. Sometime if we added up like how much pounds of just triceps you did over that period of time to increase your bench press. You basically were like off before you hit the world record. You were off this much, so you basically commit. Literally millions of pounds of volume if you added all the sets together to improve this much. And that changes everything. It changes you from, probably somebody no one would think much about in 5 years from now to, someone that's changed the bench press literally this much right here.
Yeah, and again, like you said, it's all about the work, putting in the work. So I think the biggest thing is that people can take away from this is like, if you have a coach, make sure your coach knows what he's talking about. And if you don't know, do your research on this person. Does he have athletes and clients that are world-class athletes? Does he even have clients that even compete? These are things that you need to look at because there's a lot of coaches, and I just got off the phone with a friend of mine that I'm gonna start training him, and his coach had him working up. His coach had him overload training a week after he maxed out.
Wow.
Like he's going 110%, and I'm just like, that was just 5 days ago. Why would he do that? And his coach just told him, just do the program and don't worry about it.
Well, the thing is, in that situation, I think what happens is instead of someone looking at long-term results, they're going to look at the novelty, not the whole process. Like, okay, like obviously it's not to mislead people, but like, anybody that's posting anything on Instagram or something, you can't show 24 hours out of the day. You can't. No, people are going to watch a 2 or 3 hour workout. So what you're going to do is show a couple highlights of what helped you get there. But then people just think, okay, here's Julius's highlights. Here's so and so's highlights. Here's so and so's highlights. I'll just basically compile it into my own workout and make it like a highlight film. It's just insane. I mean, it's of people, with lacking. Qualifications. I mean, I guess that's probably in any industry. I think this one might be, a slightly higher percentage.
Yeah, really high.
Well,
it's a lot of Dollar General coaching out here.
Well, there's
cheap.
A guy
Go
I know,
ahead.
a guy did an interview. There's a training system out in the early '90s, and it was called Super Slow. It was a pretty popular book, and this guy I know interviewed the author of it, and basically this guy went on and on how it's the greatest system ever. He's like, great. It was the utter muscle and fitness, and he finally said, okay, can you just provide us with a couple examples of transformations that have used this system? And it turned out no one had ever used it. He just wrote a book on, on what might actually. I mean, at least nobody that's like transformed themselves.
Yeah, and those are the things that you need to look into whenever you're looking for a coach,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
especially if you're paying $100, $200, $300, $400, $500 a month for a coach. Make sure, like, check his portfolio. Make sure he's got some legitimate clients. Even if you reach out to them and say, "Hey, look, I know you're coached by so and so. How, is there any, do you have any examples, or can you show me some stuff that's proven to work that he's set for you or whatever?" However you look at it, just make sure that you check their backgrounds, because a lot of people, and what I'm hearing too is these coaches are getting their clients hurt just because they're staying around higher
That's the
volume.
bad part.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's the bad part, because a lot of other sports you could give somebody bad advice and hey, at least they're exercising, and they may not be like the number one tennis player, but at least they got some exercise. This is not that. This is extreme weightlifting, so bad advice puts you on the injured reserve list if you're lucky, and it could be worse.
Oh yeah. And there's another, like, I'm gonna speak up. Like, at my gym, when I see trainers training their clients, and I know this may be kind of like disrespectful, but I'll tell them anyway. Especially when it comes to bench, if you got a coach and he's allowing you to bench press with your elbows flared out, and you're telling me that you got shoulder problems, then I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna help you correct the problem. Well, I helped this client correct the problem, and his coach still told him to train the way he was like pressing, and he tore his pec a week later.
Jeez.
Like, I mean, these are just small tweaks that you can do, but potentially, if you don't make those changes, could be devastating, to your, workout routine, or however you want to put it. It's just that's a big pet peeve of mine, and if there's anything that I can do to help, like, I'm going to help people, So
For sure.
it just drives me crazy.
Well, that's the thing is, I think you got to look. Yeah, exactly. You got to look at people's track record, and if they've like come out of nowhere, or at least like someone like you, they can see that you've been around for a while. It's not just like randomly. I mean, because anybody with the internet can claim to be whatever. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
You can get a certification online and call yourself, a family therapist, and start running Skype calls and charge people $100 an hour.
You can print your own certification off.
That's the thing. Charles Pollock
randomly make it up.
Charles Poliquin used to say, "Don't go to the virgin sex therapist," and I think that's probably just a good way to leave it at that. Yeah. So, anything else? So, what are you doing besides you're working with people? Obviously, that's awesome, and I'm happy to hear when you're doing it. We've talked about it. You're not just doing like one way. You're doing what works for them. I think that's the key. Is what you're doing is right. Is you're getting feedback from people, and you're actually using it, not just this is my way, follow it. If you fall off, it's no. We're gonna find your way, but my experience is gonna help you find your way. Is how you look at it.
Yeah. I think just from learning from you and just taking advice from you, ultimately, for the most part, because I mean, I just found that the way you structure everything is. I mean, I think I'm sold. It's the best training method out right now. So, I think it's why we're so beneficial, and I've implemented some of the same things that we've done over the years, and my clients are making huge progression. So, I'm just grateful just to be trained under the greatest coach in the history of the world. So how's it going with you and Brian?
Good. I mean, he's just 4 weeks into it, but really good. So
I've seen a video of him. He's looking massive.
He wants to get you, me, and over to his place, and maybe get TD to go down there and lift some weights over there in Colorado at his place sometime.
Let's do it.
Over. Yeah, it'd be cool.
I'm game for it.
Because he got a good attitude, because like he's like for instance, having to add a pause to the bench. It's not like, he's got a good attitude. He's got an open mind and doesn't
Yeah.
think he knows it all or anything. So,
And that's people always like whenever Eddie went on this spiel about seeing Road to 700, and like people are like, "What do you think about it?" I'm like, "That's a good thing. Like that's good for him." Like I'm not that type of person that I'm gonna bash other people for trying to become great or trying to make something greater than what it previously was. So like somebody recently asked me about Brian Shaw, and I'm like, more power to him. Like this is like we want to. That's the whole point. I keep getting phone calls, but that's the whole point. Like I want to have a competition one day where I'm going head to head with somebody. I don't never get to go head. I'm always competing by myself.
well, and when you have people that have a huge following, just engage in the bench press. It's gonna like the old thing about a rising tide's gonna lift all parties. You're gonna just get more eyes on it, more interest, and more opportunities for everybody if there's more interest. So I mean, yeah, the best thing you can have is people like that, Brian Shaw, Eddie,
Yeah,
wanting to do this, or even an NFL player, somebody jump in the mix. That's what gonna. I think you've also done like last thing to touch on here would be is what about I think you've done a good job of focusing on just getting your bench press up and like the fame and notoriety follows because I mean you look at how big your following's become just pretty recently. It's not like you went from 1,000 followers to 200,000 where we have now in 6 months. It was like all that work ahead of time and doing the right thing. There's only going to be you got to be you, so you can't be the act of drinking beer while you bench press. Somebody's already done that. Somebody already does that. So you see 100 other people. Oh, I got a Coors Light on bench press. No, somebody's already got that. Or doing whatever else.
Yeah, I had to find my own niche. Like,
doing backflips in your in your kitchen and deadlifting. Somebody's already doing that. So you have to find your way is legitimate training, legitimate information without trying too hard, and like without trying too hard. The good things have happened. It's going to be a more solid, loyal following than like you look at a lot of people, they do crazy stuff. They get out of the sport, and then all of a sudden their following like basically dwindles down because people just want to be entertained with you. I think there's a lot more substance there.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, and that's what I'm saying. Like, so like, I'm honored to be in a league where these guys are trying to chase after me, where and I want to be able to help. Like, that's my thing. That's what I did with Eddie. That's what I'm gonna do with Brian. Whoever. So it's just about the betterment of the sport, how we can better each other to succeed, and that's it. But for the most part, yeah, you're not gonna see me on a trampoline. Remember, I tried that once, the box jump.
Well, you learned from it, dude. Like,
stay in your lane.
Yeah.
So I found my lane, and I'm gonna stay in it.
Cool. So, we'll have to do this again sometime. But anything else you want to sign off with?
No, that's about it. That's about it.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Get your phone calls. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Talk to you later.
Bye.